Hey there lads and lasses, Jim Bob here. This is a video for you today of the MCU villains. Now I'm excluding in this list side villains and henchmen such as Justin Hammer, Crossbones, the Children of Thanos. Anybody like that is just excluded from the list because I am talking about the main antagonists of each and every film. And I'm going to rank them in order from worst to best, or as I like to say, least best to best. None of these villains are particularly terrible. Maybe the first couple are. Well, we'll see what you think. Anyway, so coming in at number 19 and last place is Malekith from Thor: The Dark World. Now, I didn't really think that he was interested in the slightest. His ambition of behind what he was doing was just he wants to get the ether and do some really bad stuff with it. And I just thought, you are not remotely compelling or interesting, so please just go away. Now, coming in at number 18 is the Abomination. Now, the Abomination to me, I thought that basically he was just put into the film for someone for the Hulk to fight. And I thought that the Hulk's Bruce Banner's rivalry with General Ross was so much more interesting than what we got right here. And he just wasn't that interesting, but the character overall in the comics interests me, and there's a bit more depth to it. But this guy just wanted ultimate power, and that's basically the villain's ambition. Just power, wants to be stronger than the other guy. So, coming in at number 17 is Whiplash, Ivan Vanko from Iron Man 2. Now, this guy is not interesting, but there was so much potential behind this character. The actor is actually pretty good. And the way the character was designed, he was very, very scary looking. Like, you won't want to mess with that guy if you bumped into him in a dark alley. But the way they pulled it off, there was only like 2 confrontations between him and Tony Stark. Like, most of the time he's stuck in a lab making drones for Justin Hammer. Now, Justin Hammer to me was an interesting villain. Like, I thought Sam Rockwell was pretty good. Knocked it at the park, jealous of Tony Stark. That is the connection I wanted, and maybe if it was Justin Hammer in the big Whiplash suit at the end, maybe that would have been a bit better. But Ivan Vanko, he's not that interesting, and so he comes at 17. Coming in at number 16 is Caecilius, I think that's his name, from Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange overall was a movie which I didn't really like as much as everybody else did. I'm probably one of the only people on YouTube that actually don't have that many great things to say about it, and Caecilius was one of those things. He wasn't very compelling. His ambition, it was a little confusing, but the actor who plays him, Mads something. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names at the moment. I will get round to it. He just wasn't that interesting. So he comes at 16. So coming in at number 15 is Ronan the Accuser. Now, Ronan the Accuser, the only thing which I will rate this villain for is the fact that he stood up to Thanos and told him he was coming for him. Now, none of these villains on this list have remotely aimed even an insult towards Thanos, but this guy was the only guy to threaten him, and that I rate him for. But other than that, he's just your stereotypical villain who wants ultimate power. He wants to blow up a planet and just become the supreme ruler of everything. You know, I will be all powerful sort of villain, and it just wasn't really interesting. Now, coming in at number 14 is the Yellow Jacket. That's Darren Cross from Ant-Man and the Wasp. No, the first Ant-Man. My apologies. And he's another stereotypical villain. Like, he's just a rich guy with a lot of money, and the power went to his head, and he's mad at Hank Pym because he fired him, and he wants revenge, and that's basically all it is. And we've seen this so many times, particularly in the first Iron Man film with Ironmonger. Like, that is basically that sort of remade. But Darren Cross wasn't that compelling, and he was a little bit boring. So coming in at number 13 is Aldrich Killian. Now, the Mandarin, the real Mandarin, that is. And to me, it was disappointing to begin with, because the Mandarin, Ben Kingsley's Mandarin, was an actual very scary looking guy, and you thought, oh wait, I can't wait to see Tony's confrontation with this guy for the first time. And then when he sees him, he's just some goofy British actor, and the actual Mandarin is Aldrich Killian, and he's not that interesting. The actor overall is pretty good, the ambition behind what he was doing was pretty good, but the way they pulled it off wasn't very good. So, coming in at number 12 is Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now I got it right. Now, Ghost is the only villain on this list, particularly who isn't a villain. She's not actually a villain, she's just doing bad stuff to save her own skin, and that was actually interesting and new, but she's a little bit bland. There's no, she was just, she wasn't very compelling, and you don't really fear for the hero's safety when Ant-Man and the Wasp are battling Ghost. So overall, she comes at number 12. Coming in number 11 is Obadiah Stane, the Ironmonger. Now, this was a much better take on a villain than Darren Cross, because this guy is mad at Tony, and he wants his company. That's basically what it is. And Jeff Bridges is really, really good, and it's a good start to villains. Though the MCU does have a villain problem, but starting off with Obadiah Stane isn't actually that bad. He's not as bad as the villains which I've talked about before him, and I just thought he was a very, very interesting take on a villain. So, coming in at number 10 is Hela, or Hela, however you pronounce it. Thor's sister, coming in from Thor Ragnarok. Now, she, played by Cate Blanchett, I thought she was actually really, really good. The whole, her whole ambition behind what she's doing is the fact that she's pissed at Odin because Odin has covered up her past, and she wants the throne. She is the rightful heir to the Asgard throne, and Thor's not going to allow that. And this is actually the first main antagonist female villain we've had, other than Ghost. And it was just a great start to it. Cate Blanchett, she's a very, very likeable actress, and she's good in everything I've seen her in. Don't think I've seen her in a bad film just yet. Though, we'll wait and see. Coming in at number 9 is the Winter Soldier. That's Bucky Barnes from the Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, a lot of people would argue that Alexandra Pierce, the leader of Hydra, was the main antagonist, and pretty much he was. But to me, the main antagonist was Bucky, because Bucky, well, his name is in the title, the Winter Soldier. And he's a villain with very, very little dialogue, but he's revealed in the first place when the mask come off, and Cap's like, Bucky? And he goes, who the hell is Bucky? You're just thinking, oh my god. You know, it's just one of those moments in cinema history where you're just like, shit. You know what I mean? And the fight scenes between him and Cap are amazing. Bucky is a very, very cool villain, and it's good that the MCU didn't write him off, and now he's a good guy going by the name of the White Wolf. So Bucky comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 to me is the Red Skull. That's the first villain in the first Captain America film. Now, Hugo Weaving, it's a shame that we'll never see him again, although it was a big surprise that he popped up in Infinity War. And the Red Skull to me is a good villain, and it'd be nice to see him again, actually live action, not CGI like we saw him in Infinity War. The guy is basically a Nazi warlord, and above Hitler himself. And it was just a really, really interesting take on the villain, and I'd like to see more Red Skull in the future. Coming in at number 7 is Zemo from Captain America: Civil War. Now, this guy is the only guy in the whole thing that doesn't actually put up a fight against the Avengers or any of the heroes. He's basically tearing them apart from the inside, mentally, framing Bucky, trying to get the Avengers to turn on each other, and it worked. He's actually one of those villains that actually succeeded in what he was doing. He didn't get them to kill each other, but he did get them to split apart, which I believe the comics is a little bit different. And he was actually, I thought he was pretty. I thought he was pretty cool anyway. And a villain that wins is interesting to me. So coming in at number 6 is Ultron from Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now, this guy is practically the robotic replica of Tony Stark. He has the ego of Tony Stark, and James Spader was actually really, really good. Now, a lot of people would argue that Avengers: Age of Ultron isn't that good, but I loved the film. It's not better than the first one, and it's not better than Infinity War or a majority of others, but it's still a very, very good film, and Ultron was a cool villain. So Ultron comes in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, Ego is Star-Lord's dad and played by Kurt Russell. I thought that was a good cast because I really thought that I really bought into the father and son relationship that him and Chris Pratt had. It felt real. Doesn't feel like you just stick some random actor who looks a little bit like him and then just hope it works. He was a really compelling villain, but the only issue really with him as a villain is that you don't really know he's a villain. Well, you sort of do, but he doesn't actually act villainous until the very end. And you spend most of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 thinking that the Sovereign are the main baddies, but they're really not. It's Ego. But still, one of the best villains we've had to date. Number 4 is the Vulture. Now, the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, is an absolute badass. Like, I don't think I've seen a Spider-Man villain this good since Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2 back in 2004. And that's saying something, because the Vulture is a very compelling, black weapons arm dealer. And I don't think he even raised his voice once in the entire film. And that's really, really what gets me. You're thinking that this guy, if he loses his shit, what's he going to sound like when he's angry? And the Vulture, I'm glad he wasn't killed off, and I'm glad that he's in prison. And for some reason, he's protecting Peter's identity, and I don't really know why. Maybe we'll find out in the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel coming out next year. So, the Vulture comes in at number 4 for me. Very good villain. Coming in at number 3 is, alright, we're in our top 3 now, so here we go. Is Killmonger from Black Panther. Now, Killmonger is one of the best villains the MCU has ever had. I thought he was absolutely cool, and you can understand where this villain's coming from. Villains that you can understand, misunderstood villains, not villains that just want to blow up the world, be all powerful. They want to be stronger than the other person, so they feel the need to be evil. He had reasons behind what he was doing, and it was just an interesting way to pull it off. This guy's been hurting his entire life, been working up to becoming some kind of contract killer, and just so he can kill T'Challa. And that to me, he really has it in for this guy. So Killmonger is one of the best takes on a villain I've seen in the MCU in recent years. So he comes at number 3. Our runner-up at number 2 is Loki. Now Loki, a lot of people would think to put this guy first, and he was first until number 1 came, which I'll get to that in a minute. But his jealousy of Thor, and Tom Hiddleston is he just nails the role completely. Loki is one of those guys. He's mischievous. And you never know. You can trust the guy. The guy could stab you in the back at any minute, and it's just one of those. He's a very unpredictable character, but not unpredictable as in like it's annoying unpredictable. So he comes at number 2. Loki has always been a very good villain, and will we see him again? That's my question. Will we see Loki again in future MCU films? You can pop that question. Your answer down below. But coming in at number 1 is Thanos. Now, Thanos, I think everyone saw this coming. Thanos is the best Marvel villain ever. And he is absolutely awesome. His ambition behind what he was doing was he thought he was humanity's saviour. He thought that he was doing right by the world by eliminating half of the universe. That's not just Earth itself, that's the whole universe. So things can grow again. People understand where he's coming from. Like, maybe that could repair the world's damage and everything like that. But at the same time, it's mass murder, and heroes are not going to let that stand. So I'm with the Avengers on that one. But he does have a point of where he's coming from, and he's the only villain particularly where I actually feared for the hero's safety. In every single scene he was in, I was like, which one is he going to kill next? Oh, no, please not him, please not him. Not a lot of villains can get you to do that. Like, you actually think that someone could potentially die here. Most Marvel films, you just go, okay, the villain, the hero will succeed towards the end. But with Thanos, you just wonder who's next. And I bet there's going to be more in Avengers 4, and I cannot wait to find out, because it's going to be awesome. So that is my list of the 19 main villains in the MCU, and I had a lot of fun making this video. And I did it on my first try, which is rare. So, but I'm running out of time now, so I better get going. Thank you very much, guys. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.